Well, and we could have other major coaching searches happening. Villanova met with Kevin Willard on Saturday to talk about the obvious. What's the latest that you can share on what has been seemingly a process that now feels like it's been weeks on end?
Yeah, it feels lengthy and inevitable at this point that Kevin Willard will, in fact, take that Villanova job. It's obviously, a job that right now, is one that's going to have more revenue sharing than Maryland at this point. Maryland's a job that a lot of people think is a basketball job, but some of the people at Maryland kind of feel is still a football job as well, a football school. So Kevin Willard likely to go to Villanova at this point unless something crazy happens on Sunday morning when he wakes up. But again, then the big question becomes what happens next for Maryland, because they don't have an AD right now. Damon Evans left for SMU. They've got a search firm in Daniel Parker handling this thing, but an interim AD, you've certainly got some money people that are going to be involved there in the process. But Buzz Williams is a name I've heard quite a bit about here for the last couple of days. I don't think it really fits in the Northeast, but if you look at his resume compared to a lot of the other candidates' resumes, you say to yourself, why not? Again, I just don't think Buzz is a Northeast guy. I think it would be one decision that Maryland might later regret, but we'll see.
Rob, any thoughts on this?
I think my main thought is that I don't love the way that it kind of played out, right? Like I understand Willard wanting to take a different job and what appears to be a better job based off the amount of NIL revenue that he's going to be able to share with players. But the way that this kind of played out publicly, the fact that it all went down when Maryland fans were experiencing what should have been the best season that they've had in like a decade, the way that happened, I don't think I loved. I didn't love the way that it felt like every single press conference hinted at something like this. So I don't know how much of that is on Willard either, because it felt like this wasn't a recruitment that happened behind the scenes. It felt something that was very public, and I don't know if that's Willard's fault. I don't know if it's his agent's fault. I don't know if it's Villanova's fault. I don't know what it is.
These things quiet. It's just hard to keep them quiet, especially at a place like Maryland when you're involving two high-profile jobs like Maryland and Villanova. Stuff is going to get out. Now, generally, in these cases, the school, the coach, they get eliminated the first weekend. It doesn't drag another week. So you don't have to play this game. And Kevin Willard was, as Kevin Willard generally is, honest about some of the shortcomings of that Maryland job, likely on his way out. And that's just kind of who he's always been. I actually kind of enjoy it, certainly as a media member. I like guys that are honest. I don't like the bullshit.
The honesty.
Like the
yeah, the honesty part, yes, that I appreciate that. And that's part of the reason why I like Kevin Willard and enjoy interviews with him, enjoy interacting with him, right? I honestly don't think that this is necessarily his fault. I think it's the fault of the system that we've built. And this is only going to start happening more and more as the cycle speeds up, as you have to get into the portal sooner and sooner and sooner. Like, you can't just have an open job sit there for 2 weeks after the season as you go find the right guy. Like, you got to get it done quick. Otherwise, that next year that you're going to have is going to be a disaster, right?
And then you know who
you
it
can flip
is.
It quick.
You also know who it is because everybody else has been knocked out. So it's so blatant that Villanova is waiting for Kevin Willard. And again, he can get up there and basically deny it. And then he looks like an asshole, right? He looks like an asshole if he says, no, I have not talked to Villanova or anybody else. So you can't win. I try to tell fans this all the time. There's no way a coach can win because they're going to lie. They're going to have to lie. Or if they're honest, then they get crucified for being honest and talking about it publicly. So there's no winning. It's really a no-win situation.
It's a really brutal situation. And again, like I don't like the way that this played out, but I don't think that this is something where you say Kevin Willard is an awful human being for what happened with this recruitment. No, he was interested in the job that he perceived as a better job.
Hey, my bigger question now, let's flip it to this, and I want to, Fana, start with you. You're obviously your familiarity with the Big East is the hire for Villanova, and you know Willard better than anybody, other than probably his family. Is Willard the right hire at Villanova, and why or why not?
Well, he is the right hire because I don't think there's a guy that can be more in tune with that donor base. That donor base likes to do a couple of things. They like to watch a lot of basketball. They like to golf. Kevin would win a golf tournament of all coaches in college basketball. And they like to sip red wine. They drink red wine at the games. And if you put together all of the coaches in this sport and asked who would be the savant in a vineyard, it would be Kevin Willard because he is one of the all-time red winers that I've ever met in my life. That being said,
red winers. That's what he looks like when he gets mad at a ref. He's a red whiner.
Hey, Willard can be a whiner.
To cap what you're saying, okay? I fully believe this. I fully believe this. Kevin has said to the degree the last week that he said, because he knows it's not normal. Rev sharing or not, we talk about rev sharing. These Big Ten and SEC schools will just find a way to do it under the table then. What, you think Nate Oates is going to be unable to pay his team because his AD gives him a figure in rev sharing? BS. It's a bunch of crap. The teams will still go and pay players. It's an open market. Give me a break. He's saying all this because he knows it's not normal for someone to leave a Big Ten school for anywhere, unless it's a blue blood. He was clearing the runway. In December, he asked for his team to stay an extra night in the city. And the person of authority that had to approve that denied it. Said you can't spend an extra night with your team in the city.
The now interim AD.
The now interim AD, Colleen Sorum, denied that request. And Colleen has been difficult to work with per the coach, that you're supposed to be accessible. And I have it on good authority that Maryland's top people, their higher-ups, were not very communicative and connected with not just the men's basketball coach, but it sounds like this is a bit of an issue departmentally there. Kevin came from being at a place at Seton Hall that has far less resources and is totally different, but he loved being the king of the frickin' hill. And the fact is, who's the king of the hill at Villanova University? If anyone knows
Jay
it,
Wright.
It's a guy like Kevin. Right. And who was Jay Wright's biggest rival in the Big East the last decade of his time at Villanova? Who's his biggest rival? Kevin Willard.
Mm-hmm.
Seton Hall was the only team that could really test them every game. In 2016, Villanova's last loss came to Isaiah Whitehead and Seton Hall. That connection stays. That respect stays. Jay's gotten beat by Kevin and Greg McDermott, probably more than all the others. Greg McDermott ain't going to Villanova. So when he was looking at candidates, who are they familiar with? A guy that beat them. And for Kevin, I got the sense that he never really fell in love with the DMV. He wants to move back up near the Jersey Shore, come back up to where his roots are, and that's why. Do I think he's the right choice? I do. I think he's